Hey, what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and yes, I am wearing this nice warm hat because right now, the day I am filming this, it is snowing and snowing and snowing outside, and we are supposed to get an upwards of like a foot of snow. To people overseas, I'm sorry, I'm dumb when it comes to numbers. I don't really feel like converting it right now. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, it's snowing enough to the point where I actually don't have to do anything today because all of campus is closed. So it's really nice, being able to do this at about 11:30 in the morning. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about, in case you have not read the title and you just blindly clicked on here because you are a supporter, which I thank you very much. This video is about the topic of piracy. And I'm not talking about, Somalian pirates or anything. If that's still a thing, it probably is. But I am talking about movie piracy, game piracy, application piracy, music piracy, whatever it is. Just my thoughts on it and what I kind of wanted to convey to you all. So, first off, I want to say there is a time and a place for piracy. I think piracy can be a good thing. Now, is it legal? In most places, it's not legal. In several places, it is still legal. Or they just really don't care. It might be as illegal as jaywalking. But the first thing I want to say about it, at least about the channel on hand, might confuse several of you all. And I want to say that I've really made this channel anti-piracy, if I could. Now, some people might be saying, Mario, that makes no sense. You've showed how to copy games, how to play backups, how to mod your systems and all that. Well, that's the thing. I've showed how to do backups and everything. And first off, am I oblivious to the fact that people can use this for piracy? No, I'm not oblivious. I understand that people are going to pirate when they do. But the way I am showing it in backup form. I am not saying, here, this is how you get free games. I'm not putting that in tutorial fashion, although I just said it over there, but I don't show the process. You all understand what I mean. And also, I still believe that if a developer makes something good, you should go out and get it if you can afford it. That's always what I believed, and that's what I've said on the channel, to begin with, when I first started and such. I've also not posted any cracked programs. I haven't put any cracks, any serial numbers, or anything on the channel, so you can go back and look, and if you'd like to do that, I would appreciate the viewership. I mean, that just shows some loyalty right there, but I can assure you I haven't, showed any download links to cracks or anything like that. But again, am I oblivious to the fact that people, are going to use my videos to pirate or anything? I mean, I understand that's going to happen. But the main reason why I do that as well is because I've also always been a person where I believe if you purchase something, it is yours and you can do what you want with it. And if you want to unlock the power of it, go ahead and do it. To me, I do like modding. That is where I come first on the stance. Now, yes, I do like the fact that, you can play backup games. You can play games off a hard drive and such if you have a JTAG Xbox 360, for example. But to me, that is just harnessing the power of the actual system. That is unlocking things that could be there if I, as a consumer, want them to be there. And that is why I take the modding stance on that. Now, people can call, excuses here and there. Whatever. You all are entitled to your own opinion, but I'm just stating where I stand on this. Now, when it comes to piracy, it is a rampant thing, but personally, I don't think it's as bad as a thing as it once was. The reason why, let's talk about games, for example. The reason why people, game companies attribute piracy so heavily to that is because of two things. First off, PC. Now, PC piracy is through the roof compared to console gamers and such. The reason being is that, with a PC, you can do anything. You can build a PC, you can get a PC from your mom and dad, you can go to the store and buy one, and you don't have to mod it or anything. It's just a few clicks away and you can get a pirated game. So you can get a $60 game for nothing and put a crack on it and you're good to go. While as with consoles, that's a completely different thing. Most people on consoles who stay stock are scared to do that. And I'm not demeaning you all by any chance, but there are several people who have been interested in modding, and I've talked to them, and they're just like, oh, well, am I going to get banned? Well, what if my warranty gets voided? What if my system breaks after that? What am I supposed to do? It's just things like that. And because of that scare factor that the companies put in, they say, you know what? No, I'm just going to stay stock. That's okay. And then there are several people, yes, there are people that pirate, but what I'm trying to say is, even though piracy is big on consoles, it's not nearly as rampant and as it is on PC. And I will come back to that. But PC is one thing, and second, I want to say the reason why a lot of console manufacturers and such are afraid of piracy is, yes, you're going to lose money on it and such, but many people point this out because I want to say a little thing called the Dreamcast. Maybe it didn't work that, but whatever. The Dreamcast has one of the biggest piracy rates on consoles. And that was due to the fact that it was as easy to pirate on that system, maybe a little bit harder, maybe a little bit easier, than it was on a PC. Back when, modding or, running backups and such on the Dreamcast first started, this is all you needed. You just needed a CD burner and some blank CDs. That's it. You download your game, or you could only really download at the time because there was really no viable option of actually, backing up an original disc. But you download your game, and you burn it to a disc, and then you have to download a boot disc, and you burn that over. You put the boot disc in. Once it tells you to swap, you swap, and that's it. You're done. You don't have to open up your system. You don't have to do any, intricate tricks to get it to boot. You don't have to do anything like that. And later on, even that boot disk became irrelevant because self-booting ISOs were available, which meant you burn the disk and it works just like an original game. You pop the disk in and it plays. So because of that, and because, games were $40, $50 at the time, and CD burners were coming down and such, I've actually wanted to talk about this for a while, just this thing right here. This is why it made sense to people, okay? I remember when I was in first grade or so, my dad got a CD burner. I was really excited, and that was an external. So, an external 4X CD burner. We were balling at the time, all right? And this was in like 2000 or so. Now, the CD burner was $200. Now, let's look at it like this. $200, but Dreamcast games, 5 new games, $40 a piece. I did the math correctly. $40 a piece, that's also $200. More than likely, you're going to have more than 5 games. Now, if we're going to be paying top dollar for blank discs, we're probably going to be paying about, $2 per CDR. So, pretty much 5 games, that's already what a base collection would be. You could spin that on a CD burner, and then any other games would be, $1 or $2 a piece. So, that is the logic of what was going on with people. That's why piracy was so rampant on that system, and that's really what led to its demise as well. I'm going to get off the Dreamcast soapbox in a bit, but just hear me out. Pretty much what happened was they were selling the system at a loss for a while, hoping that software's titles would support the system, but since software was so easy to pirate, that obviously didn't happen, and then it led to the demise of the system and eventually Sega going bankrupt. Now, did Sega go bankrupt only because of the Dreamcast? No. They had, let's not forget that they have made several bad mistakes and several terrible systems before the Dreamcast and in between and all that good stuff. But that's not the sole reason to blame. And I feel like a lot of companies are using piracy as a sole reason to blame for bad funds. The companies can't make any bad games. They can't make any bad decisions. They don't make any bad financial decisions. They have to blame everything on piracy. And while, as you know, in some cases it might be true, other times, like for example, let's look at the Grand Theft Auto 5 thing. And this is what cracks me up when there's some news reports about this, but a few days before Grand Theft Auto 5 retailed, it ended up leaking online, and a bunch of news sites were reporting on it, and they were treating it like console piracy was a brand new thing. And the funny thing is, several of these sites actually gave links or pretty much dropped big information in there which you could use to learn how to mod your system and download the game and then burn it and get it playing. So, if anything, the news increased piracy. But the reason why I'm noting Grand Theft Auto is because I want to say at least a few weeks before the game retailed, they already broke even on the game. So that meant by the time the game retailed, they had, gone way over what they were expecting for sales. That's also why Grand Theft Auto Online was so buggy and all that. But that company was not hurting. And there are a lot of companies that aren't hurting. That's why piracy doesn't seem like as big of a deal to the end user. Because they say, oh, well, this game, it's kind of hard to make up an excuse and say, I want to support the developers because, they should get my money when A company like Rockstar, for example, has already sold, millions of copies hand over fist. I want to say last night I was just reading an article that said that they've now sold over 35 million copies of Grand Theft Auto. So the few million copies, even if it was like 10 million copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 that got pirated, that did not hurt them at all. It really didn't. Now, am I trying to be all pro-piracy on here? No, I'm not. But I'm trying to be neutral on this. Now, there are companies that do suffer from this as well, especially indie developers and such, or maybe even on the mobile platform where they already have games cheap enough, or I'm not sure why you'd want to pirate, a $5 game, but people will do that. Because the thing is, you will always have the people that say, well, yeah, this game is $5, but I could get it for free. So why would I pay the $5? Even if it is a $60 game that is discounted down to $5, you will still have the people that say, well, that's $5 and that's worth it, but I can get the game for free, so whoop-de-doo. One thing I don't support, though, I'll just come out and say this, one thing I do not support is when people are making money off piracy. Now, that's also kind of an iffy thing. At least in places like the US and such, I really don't support that. Because there, you're just, ripping off the developers on purpose and trying to make a living off that. Now, there are other countries, other places, and I'm not going to be oblivious to this fact. I know about this. Other countries, it's their lifestyle. People over there don't know what original games are, original discs are. People don't know about anything like that. That might sound hard to believe for several people, in Europe or the US and such, but people just don't know about copyrights over there. They sell, copied things in stores. Legitimate retail stores, they do that. Like this nasty coaster that I've been using for Battlefield 3 for the past 6 months. Well, this copy Battlefield 3 I've been using as a coaster. Look how nasty this is. This is an original to many other people. They don't know. They really don't know what originals are, or you can't get them in places. Now, that might be, one big thing might be, lack of support, because mainly I'm looking at game companies here. Several console companies as well don't do localization very well. Microsoft would be one of those with the Xbox One, where they only released it in 15 or 18 countries at launch, and then they were trying to scare people and say, oh, well, if you're in this country, you won't be able to make an account and such. And the localization on Xbox Live has just been terrible. But that's going to be a whole nother thing. What I'm trying to say is, piracy happens whether we want it to or not. And what are some good things about piracy? Well, I believe that piracy has really advanced, technology as it is today. I talked to a friend about this before, but let's look at CD and DVD burners and such. 1999 or 2000, we're going to do a flashback here. This is when the Napster era was booming. Now, I guarantee if you ask people how they downloaded music or MP3s before Napster, they either would give you some intricate, detailed explanation, or they would just say, we didn't know, it just didn't happen. Or many people might ask what Napster is, which, shame on you all. But what happened in 1999-2000, Napster ended up coming out. Now, in case you don't know, Napster was a peer-to-peer program that was coded by a guy who was in the US. He was a college student in the US, and he pretty much came and he said, I want to make a program where it is easy for my friends and I to find songs and such. Because at the time, CDs were retailing for like $20, $25 easily. And this is when people would save up their allowance and buy a CD just for 1 or 2 songs. This was pre-iTunes, anything like that. You could not buy MP3 downloads. You couldn't do anything like that. You buy the retail CD or you don't buy it. That's all you could do. And this is, when tape decks were getting phased out and such. But this is really the turn of the millennium here. So Napster was made. Napster came and went, and the guy came under a lot of fire because he was in the US. And this is where then there was a few loopholes and such, because other peer-to-peer networks started cropping up, such as Music City, Morpheus, Kazaa, anything like that. And they were saying, oh, well, we're over in Europe. where copyrights are different, so we're okay. And then, the European Union ended up changing up their copyright rules as well. But pretty much a lot of copyright things got established there, but Napster got hit first because it was in the US. And Napster even came out and said to their defense, well, we just make the program. We do not have any of the songs. That is our users. And that is where the peer-to-peer network ended up becoming mainstream, because with that, it was easy for people worldwide to share these songs that people have heard or people haven't heard of. There were people that were, yes, going out and downloading the copyrighted songs and such because they didn't want to pay for them, or they couldn't pay for them. While as there were other people who were using them to download unreleased songs, B-sides, concert rips, anything like that. Things that you could not buy, even if you wanted to. You just couldn't buy. But with all that, the popularity of CD burners skyrocketed. People were buying CD burners. And with that, we saw CD burners were like $300-$400, and they started going down in price. Remember, I said we got an external CD burner for $200, which was a good price at the time. Now that's completely unheard of. But we ended up paying for that. What ended up happening was because of all this, all these manufacturers started coming out. They started making CDRs and such, and this is just straight business right here. But then they all had to compete with each other. So they started bringing the price down more and more and more and more, to the point where, CD burners became very affordable. They were like $30, $40, which at the time was very affordable. Blank CDs, you could get a whole spindle of like 100 for like $25, $30, which now might be a bit expensive, but at the time, great deal. Again, right there. The same thing happened with DVDs. Same thing is happening with Blu-rays. And because of that, I don't think without piracy we would see as big of a technology, mainly in the storage industry. Even with our hard drives and such, we're seeing things like that. Now, yes, there are people that run programs like, for example, at work, we do simulations and such, which do require gigabytes on gigabytes of data. So we have to have terabytes on deck. But there are people, of course, who are using these either, to catalog legal things or illegal things. Whatever it is, they are still helping, and they are still showing that we need demand for more storage, which is what's going on. And that is just one example of how I think piracy has helped. Another thing has come directly from artists. We're going to go to music right here. Back with the Napster era, there were several, bands, artists, whatever. Metallica, for example, were very against Napster. Now, Metallica, I could understand. They had a song. The reason why they got riled up is because they had a song that they had worked on for quite a bit. And it was supposed to be for Mission Impossible, I want to say. It ended up getting leaked onto Napster, and then radio DJs ended up pulling the song off Napster weeks before it was supposed to retail, and they started airing it on the radio. That is a dirty feeling, because you are getting your stuff stolen right there. I've had that happen too. Not with songs or anything, but, for example, one dirty feeling, this is kind of a YouTube thing, but I have had some users, I've seen some users who have taken my videos and re-uploaded them to their channels. And then that's not even the worst part. The worst part is they monetize them, and they try and make excuses and say, oh, I'm not making that much money off it. It doesn't matter. For example, there could be a video that I spend an hour and a half working on. And, I put my time and effort into it, I render it out, I upload it, do all that stuff. While some other person, it takes this joker about 5 minutes to download, re-upload the video, and put a description on it. I might even copy mine. And then they're making money off it. There's no way, you can't say that they should be making the same amount, or even making an amount that I am making off that, unless, I'm giving them explicit permission to use that and monetize it. Now, I'm not the only person hit by this. I know several people who've gotten hit with this. It's no secret. It's easy to download YouTube videos, but it does hurt the original creators and such. I've seen people who've had 60,000 views on an original video, and it gets mirrored somewhere else, and another account with the same video gets 800,000 views. See how that's fair? It's really not. Going back to the Napster thing, though, kind of getting sidetracked there, what I wanted to say was there were also artists that did the opposite, and they said, it is so awesome. Napster is the greatest thing. One thing I remember, I want to say it was Dave Matthews Band, they did an interview with them at one point, and they said, we had premiered a song at one of our concerts that we had not released on an album yet or anything, and that night the song got onto Napster. 2 or 3 days later, we had another concert, and when that song came on, everyone was screaming the words to it. This is a song that was not released on an album or anything, but it got circulated around that fast due to the fact that Napster was available. There were other, very small artists as well that got recognition through Napster. One thing small artists did was, for example, if they said, there's one, I don't remember what the artist's name is now. I want to say it's Fear of Sound, that was it. There was a band called Fear of Sound, which I would have never heard of unless I got this. And the artists themselves came out and said, at the time, we were trying to sound like Tool and Disturbed. So we put this song, the song is called Killing You Now, that's it. And they didn't put their name on there because nobody would know who Fear of Sound was. They put Tool and Disturbed as the artist. And because of that, it circulated around on peer-to-peer networks for years. And nobody knew who these guys were. And they came out and made a video. They're just like, yeah, that's us. We didn't even know this song was as popular as it was. But thank you. It's more than appreciated. So as many tangents as I've gone off with all this and everything, what I'm trying to say is piracy can be good. Piracy can get people recognition. It could get smaller artist recognition. It could get smaller games recognition. It could get smaller films and such recognition, which it has done before. There have been filmmakers that have come out and said, nobody knew about my film, and then it got leaked out onto this network, and now there's fans of it and everyone knows about it, Thank you very much, pirates. And then you're going to have, the big companies that come out and say, oh, well, piracy is bad, and here's our numbers and all that. And then people will come out and dispute it and say, oh, well, on average, people who pirate music, people who pirate movies, buy more music and movies than people who don't. Listen, statistics can beat statistics, whatever it is. But the problem is also that there are some companies that take this too out of hand. What I'm talking about is digital rights management. DRM. Now, there are some companies out there, for example, iTunes. This started because the whole MP3 craze. They try to offer a legal, cheap alternative, and they said you can buy single songs and all that. One downfall of it is I would rather have an original CD, which I could get for cheaper on release date, and take anywhere with me and not have any digital rights management on it, compared to paying for it on iTunes. And I'll just say this as well. If you do buy albums or music on iTunes or anything, and let's say your hard drive crashes or you wipe your computer, anything like that, and you don't back up those songs, you cannot get those back. You can download them one time. Unless that's somehow changed, which it better has. But you can download movies again, you can download games again, you can download TV shows again, but music, no. You download it once and it's pretty much a one and done thing. Even with games, let's look at that for example. Two notable games I'd like to talk about, SimCity 2013 and Diablo 3. I'd like to talk more about Diablo 3 though. Diablo 3, they put that crazy DRM scheme on there to prevent pirates and such. And they said, oh, well, this is better because of this, and all your saves are on the cloud, and it will be a lot easier for you all, and we want to prevent modding and all this. Listen. There is absolutely no reason as to why I should be lagging in a single-player game. And I'm not talking about, my computer's not good enough lag. I'm talking about connection lag. I'm talking about rubber banding. There's absolutely no excuse for that. And then SimCity, that was just a mess with the DRM and all. But still, I'm annoyed with Diablo 3. I'm still annoyed with that. Pretty much, that was a game of connections. Even if you were playing single player, if you had a bad connection, if you had a spotty connection, forget about it. You can't even play it. You can barely play it. You can't survive. That's really how it is. You see, that is the problem with piracy as well. Maybe not even piracy directly, it's more the companies. Companies take it out of hand, and then they say, oh, well, piracy is the reason why we did this. But listen, DRM measures should never take away from you. They should really help you. Like the iTunes thing. iTunes, I'm looking at you. DRM measures should not be intrusive. There should not be spyware on there. DRM measures should not ruin the experience for you overall. It is the principle of it. That's why, with the Xbox One DRM thing, that's why people were so against it. And there were people that were saying, oh, well, I always have a good connection and all this. Listen. I've lived through SimCity. I've lived through Diablo. Always online DRM sucks. It's not good. It still can't be utilized properly. And even Games for Windows Live has kind of a basic form of it, but that's annoying as well. What I'm trying to say is there's a time and a place for piracy, and maybe even DRM if people can, get something right. But until then, piracy is still going to happen. You can't kill it unless you take down the internet, and even then we'll probably go back to, copying tapes off dual tape decks and such. And when it comes to DRM should just, there needs to be something that is not as intrusive, that is not as annoying as, the whole SimCity Diablo 3 debacle. Because that was just, no, those are examples of where always online DRM happens and it goes very, very wrong, and there's nothing you could really do about it. Anyways, I feel like this video has gone over a bit longer than I expected it to, but really what I'm saying here is piracy has helped the industry, and I want to say as equal or more ways than it has hurt the industry. But at the end of the day, I feel like if there is a game, a movie, a TV show, anything like that you like, you should get it. Now, there are some things that you cannot get legitimately, and that is one thing. There are TV shows that are locked away. There are, editions of movies. There are some games that they are near impossible to find, or you cannot buy them. People would be willing to buy them, and you can't because they're not available. So people have to resort to piracy. That's how it is. And one thing I'd like to say about piracy and such, well, I guess defeating it, look at Steam, for example. Now, what did Steam do? They realized that people will spend a lot of money on cheap things. So what did they do? They had their sales. They put out games for really cheap. One example would be this. A few Steam sales ago, I picked up all the Grand Theft Auto games for $12.50. I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, the expansions, 3, Vice City, San Andreas, 4, and the 2 expansions for that. So that's what, if I miscounted, 9 or 10 games. And it's a Grand Theft Auto series. I love me some Grand Theft Auto. Now, with all of that at $12.50, it's all right there. It's my own library. I can control it and such. Where is the benefit? Where is the drive to go out and pirate it? Because yes, I can pirate it, but then I might not be able to get online with some of the games, such as, Grand Theft Auto 4 and such. Might not be able to get online with that. I'm going to have to go and get cracked updates and everything. Or I could get all of the games for a little over $1 a piece. Things like that have really curbed and even killed piracy for many Steam users. There are many Steam users who will wait until sales, and then when sales come, the money they would spend on 4 or 5 games, they spend on, 50 or 60 games. And they say, well, I don't remember the last time I pirated a game. And that has been one habitual thing with many people who utilize Steam. They're just I started using Steam, and since I started using it, I've kind of stopped pirating, and there's not really a need to pirate anymore. Even some companies like Good Old Games and such, where they release, no DRM versions of games for cheaper. That's great as well. That's what people want. Honestly, if we want piracy to go away, or at least, diminish by a lot, it will never go away completely. But companies need to make their things cheap. They need to make their things affordable. And I'm not saying make them cheap all the time. I understand there are development costs and things like that. But listen, there are several things out there. There are several games, for example, that are not worth $60. But would a hell of a lot of people buy the game for $5? Yes, they would. There are people on Steam, for example, they will buy games they don't even play. I'm guilty of that as well. But they do it because it's so cheap, and the developers make bank off of that. That could also really help with digital sales as well. Just bring down the price, and that's all you need to do. iTunes, I really don't like it, but that has killed piracy for a lot of people as well. They did that. More companies need to start doing things like this. Just bring down the prices, eventually it'll all work out. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.